President Vladimir Putin, Your Excellency President Azali Assoumani, the Chair of the African Union and President of Comoros, Your Excellency Moussa Faki Mahamat, the Chair of the African Union Commission, Your Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, honorable representatives of various countries represented here, ministers and guests and ladies and gentlemen. Allow me, President Putin, at the onset to thank you, as well as the government and the people of the Russian Federation, for receiving us here in Petersburg and according us great hospitality, and especially last night's wonderful and delicious dinner, and the outstanding performance that displayed the culture of Russia, and especially of St. Petersburg, which is this cultural capital of Russia. We also want to thank you for enabling the artists to end their performance with the great African sounds and drums and dance. That touched our hearts and made us feel at home, and thank you very much for that. Nearly 3 years ago in the city of Sochi, we pledged as African leaders and as the Russian Federation to cooperate in a manner that is mutually beneficial and that serves the interests of our respective peoples. In the intervening years, we have experienced strong geopolitical and economic crosswinds. We continue to count the human cost of the devastating COVID-19 pandemic and its impact on our economies. As South Africa, and indeed as Africa, we are greatly encouraged by the Russian Federation's commitment to deepening collaboration with the nations of Africa. This is important as we chart a new course for economic development, growth, and prosperity, and as we seek to achieve the attainment of the Sustainable Development Goals. As South Africa, we remember with deep gratitude how the support of the people and the government of the then Soviet Union supported our struggle for liberation, as well as the struggles of many other countries and nations on our African continent. Today, our bilateral relationship remains strong. We continue to collaborate in political, economic, social, defense, and security spheres. We work closely across multilateral platforms such as the United Nations, the G20, and as members of BRICS. Our participation in forums such as this one is guided by our quest to realize the African Union's Agenda 2063 vision of economic integration and inclusive socio-economic development. As you know, and as a member of BRICS yourselves, as the Russian Federation, South Africa will shortly be hosting the 15th BRICS Summit in Johannesburg. We see this summit as an opportunity to promote enhanced global cooperation and to achieve common prosperity for the nations of Africa. The BRICS partners are significant investors in Africa. The upcoming summit will therefore give particular attention to infrastructure development supported by the new development bank, the BRICS bank that is, as well as also supported by the African Continental Free Trade Area from a trading point of view. The African Continental Free Trade Area, once fully operational, will unlock the benefits of the continental market and generate mutually beneficial opportunities for both African and BRICS countries alike. As clearly articulated by other leaders who have spoken before me, but more especially the very wise words of President Museveni, African countries are shaping their own destinies as nation states and as a continent. Our substantial resources must be harnessed first and foremost for Africa's benefit, to grow Africa's economies and to pursue sustainable development. And as stated by others, we no longer want to be exporting ore, soil, and dusts and rocks from the minerals of our continent, but we want to be exporting finished products that have value. There must be respect also for what we do as countries, and we must stop those countries that count their wealth and their assets in terms of the minerals that reside in the African soil, like they did in the past when they counted their wealth. They used to count their wealth in the number of slaves that they owned, that were taken from the African continent. Respect and mutual benefit should underpin what we as Africa do as we relate to other countries in the world. African countries should, as sovereign states, be able to also pursue their own independent foreign policy approaches that are not beholden to any other major global power or blocs. This second Russia-Africa summit is an opportunity to further enhance and strengthen international cooperation and partnership for Africa's development. We welcome the focus on further cooperation between Russia and Africa to promote investment, to facilitate development of value chains and boost capacity to produce and to export finished and manufactured products. The proposed Africa-Russia Action Plan for the coming years should align with the second 10-year implementation plan of the AU's Agenda 2063. This will ensure that there is coherence and that the plan is action-oriented, based on real practical interventions. We should also ensure joint monitoring and evaluation of the action plan. We need to jointly allocate the necessary funding for implementation and be accountable for concrete deliverables. Geopolitical tensions are negatively affecting countries across Africa. As part of Russia-Africa cooperation, we must repeat our call for existing global institutional mechanisms to be strengthened and reformed. Greater participation of our countries of the Global South will promote inclusiveness and engender trust. In this regard, the reform of the multilateral financial institutions as well as the reform of the United Nations Security Council, remain a priority for us. It is totally unfair, inequitable, and unacceptable that a continent that represents 1.3 billion people continues to be not represented on the UN Security Council. In our interconnected world, we are all affected by conflict and instability in other parts of the world. We have a responsibility as nations to work for peace, to support peace building, and to lend our every effort to bring an end to conflict and war wherever it occurs. As South Africa, we are steadfast in our position that negotiation and dialogue and adherence to the United Nations Charter are necessary for the peaceful and just resolution of conflicts. It is our hope that constructive engagement and negotiation can bring about an end to the ongoing conflict between the Russian Federation and Ukraine. We want to thank you, President Putin, for receiving and listening to the African leaders who came to St. Petersburg on the 17th of June, led by the Chair of the African Union, His Excellency President Azali Assoumani, where we discussed a number of issues that we believed could lead to a solution of the conflict. And we look forward to engaging further with you later today to hear precisely how some of those proposals can be taken forward. In conclusion, we look forward to the Russia-Africa Summit playing a key role in supporting our objectives of African integration, economic growth, peace, and prosperity. I thank you.
Спасибо большое, уважаемый коллега, дорогой друг. Мы с вами солидарны в том, что касается перспектив.